of the sport's newest class, Pro Modified. Just 2 seasons later, Pro Mod has split into 2 camps. Scotty Cannon began with a nitrous-boosted, gas-burning Chevy Coupe and won the world title. This year, the Cannonball has gone supercharged and dominated. The nitrous versus supercharged debate began with Jim Oddie, whose blown creations have taken the class in a direction never dreamed of at the beginning. Today, the battle is at full roar as the best of both worlds meet for the biggest purse in Pro Mod history and double points for the World Championship. But no matter what engine you use, the rules are the same.
Drag racing is a perfection sport. Nobody's forgiven, man. You drive 22 hours, you win and you stay and you smile, or you lose and you drive home.
ESPN, the world leader in motorsport coverage, presents Speed World. 40 miles south of the nation's capital in the hills of southern Maryland lies Budds Creek, home of Maryland International Raceway, one of the most innovative strips in all of drag racing, site of the International Hot Rod Association inaugural Snap-on Tools Pro Mod President's Cup. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha. Welcome to the IHRA's first ever visit to Maryland International Raceway in the heart of door slammer country. Specifically, that's a drag racing vehicle required by the rules to have 2 operating doors. And there, the resemblance to your average street car ends. This is the wildest category in drag racing, and for years it's been mired in a controversy dealing specifically with engines. For more on that, here in the pits of Pro Mod pioneer Bill Kuhlman, we turn to ESPN drag racing analyst Ted Jones. Ted, every Pro Mod racer has a decision to make when it comes to engines.
And normally they make that decision in the off-season, Bob, when you have to make a big commitment. Bill Kuhlman, being the pioneer that he is, had some different thinking. He said, I'll go each direction. He has a 710 cubic inch nitrous oxide injected engine in the car now that he's going to race with today. But he's been qualifying and experimenting with a blown motor built by Jim Oddie in his trailer. A very novel approach to Pro Modified racing by Bill Kuhlman.
In fact, he is the only racer who opts for both a blown motor and a nitrous injected. The 2 camps will go to war today. For more on what we can expect, let's go down to the big end at Maryland International Raceway for the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Brett Kepner.
Well, gentlemen, the excitement you're exhibiting about this inaugural Snap-on Tools President's Pro Mod Cup Championship has already been echoed by the racers and the fans here at Maryland International Raceway. Let's face it, as you pointed out, this is not only the richest and largest Pro Mod event ever, but one thing that many people may not realize is that it pays twice the normal amount of World Championship Series points. Now, that could be a determining factor in the determination of the drivers themselves as they battle under rather unusual weather conditions. Most racers came here expecting near sea level, cool, dry air. Let's face it, this racetrack is located only 100 feet above sea level to begin with. But the temperature has skyrocketed, the humidity is insane, and it is brutal out here. And that's going to change the way a lot of drivers approach this racetrack during eliminations. You know, the common theory is that the supercharged cars are at a disadvantage when the temperature and humidity are up there. The nitrous cars are supposed to be able to get an advantage because they carry their own atmosphere with them. Only time will tell. And Bob Varsha, I know the weather stats are crazy. What are they?
Absolutely crazy, Brett. 87 degrees, and it feels a lot higher because look at that humidity, 70%. A thunder shower is a possibility as the day goes on, but we've got a little bit of breeze to try and cool folks. Of course, last night at the Scotchgard Automotive Protectors 3M Night of Fire, it was absolutely beautiful, and we had the performances to prove it, Ted.
Michael Martin in his nitrous-injected All-Pro Auto Parts car ran top speed in the event. Watch this car literally fly. The nitrous comes in and makes big horsepower down on the top end. He cranks out a 682, 205.29.
That 682 would only prove to be 4th best of the weekend, however. Here's Al Billis from Canada, cranking out 6.799 seconds. That would have been the world record a year ago, but it was only 3rd best in this group.
Get out of the way. Here comes the world champion, Scotty Cannon. Remember, running the blown car this year. He cranks out the 2nd best time, 6.79 with a 0. But that won't stand as number 1, Bob.
Absolutely not. Take a look at Tim McAmis with his brand new Corvette Americana machine. We didn't even see him in the first couple of races of the year, but he is really hooked up here at Budds Creek. 6.75 seconds to take the top qualifying position. There are the numbers. Keep in mind, Tim McAmis does a lot of his own work on the car. Of course, what would a night of fire be without jet cars? We had a pair of beauties reaching for 270 miles an hour. And then, of course, the fireworks that are so much a part of the Scotchgard Automotive Protectors 3M Night of Fire, the fans really getting their money's worth. Our ESPN coverage of the Pro Mod President's Cup is brought to you by GMC Truck, the strength of experience. And by Quaker Steak. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. Back at Budds Creek, Maryland International Raceway for the inaugural Snap-on Tools Pro Mod President's Cup. Bob Varsha and Ted Jones with you. Brent Kepner ready to do duty down in the pit area. Let's get going with round one. Pro Mod is the whole show here at Budds Creek. First up, there is Chuck Van Vallis from Mount Clemens, Michigan, with a crowd-pleasing 64 Dodge Polara replica car going up against Killer Brooks from Youngstown, Ohio. It is killer time.
Oh, it is killer time. Killer has upset a lot of great names in this sport and is never to be taken very lightly. Van Vallis, on the other hand, has been fighting with that 64 Polara, mostly because it's one of the nostalgia cars with the boxy body, but he keeps doing better every race. He qualified number 19 here today.
You're right about Killer Brooks. He has yet to win a race, but he is always right on the edge. Good launch. Now the Polara drops back. Killer Brooks looks like he's in great shape here.
Killer kills him with a 6.98, 201 miles per hour. He'll go to round number 2.
Speaking of another guy who could knock off anyone at a moment's notice, Gary Grainer from Orchard Park, New York, in a 67 Camaro up against Jeff Enslin. First time we've seen Jeff this year out of Lakeland, Florida, with a 91 Chevy Lumina.
Remember, the nitrous guys have a 710 cubic inch limit. Grainer running 705 cubic inches of Chevrolet power. Cuts a perfect 500 light. Pulls out the win with a 708, 194 miles per hour.
Here's our ESPN half-track camera showing you just how close it was. Grainer with a small advantage, and look how close it was at the finish.
Very tight because of that good reaction time by Grainer.
That was a drag race. Our next pair, Joel Bayless from Clinton, Tennessee, in a 91 Chevy Lumina against the 1990 Camaro of Frederick, Maryland's Jeff Weddle.
Weddle, 526 cubic inches of Chevy power to Bayless's 632 inches. Well, this is nitrous against supercharger. The age-old controversy rages on side by side. Bayless had the best reaction time and pulls out the win with a 710, 195 miles per hour.
And here is Bill Coolman. Brett Kepner takes a closer look at the man who brought this class into being.
Just about everybody in IHRA drag racing knows about Bill Coolman and the Summit Racing Camaro, but not too many people are familiar with this brand new aspect of the team, Summit Chevrolet. Bill Coolman has switched from the ejected nitrous carbureted Pro modified power plant that made him famous as the first man ever to break 200 miles per hour with a full-body passenger car to this, a Giamatti-built, supercharged, fuel-injected, methanol-burning Chevrolet. Now, obviously, the controversy in Pro Mod for the last 2 full seasons has been the supercharger versus nitrous oxide debate. What made history's most successful nitrous racers switch to the supercharged ranks?
Well, this is the only class in drag racing where they allow 2 different power plants. And the only way to know what the competition have is get one yourself. So we're going to find out what they got.
So far, you've managed to find out that at least it's a completely different situation than tuning a nitrous motor. How much changeover is necessary when you're switching motors back in and out of the car?
Well, switching motors, you're looking at, we could do it in the past in 20 minutes. Now you're looking at about an hour. But it's just a time changeover. Mechanics are mechanics, you know. It's just one takes this pump, one takes an electric pump and back. That's really no big deal. The learning process of how to tune this thing, that's a cram course we're having to take.
It's interesting that you would go to probably the most successful of the supercharged racers to get your first blown motor.
Well, that's, you know, that's just what I call a common sense deal. That guy, he builds good horsepower. He's done well in IHRA, and he was willing to get on the ball and get us one out quick.
Other than watching Scotty Cannon pick up the wins that he has so far this year, what was the biggest selling point for Bill Coolman on getting a blown motor?
Well, you know, the people pay the bills. The people in the stands know what they want. I could see Scotty's blown when he had it in the Willys. That was a popular deal. The nitrous cars are popular, but the biggest controversy is when one pulls up against the other. And I pulled up against Audi quite a few times, and I couldn't tell whether they were cheering for me or cheering for him. And I got beat by him a few times also. So I'm on the other side of the fence. The fans so far really like it. People like change. And if change is what they like, change is what we're going to give them.
It sounds like you're almost of the belief that the controversy that's been raging in this class now between these 2 motors for 2 years might be good for the class.
The controversy is good, and I think IHRA's done a very good job at equalizing the factors. I I mean, these things are running, the best nitrous car on a given day is running with the best blown car and vice versa. The weather plays a factor. We're playing with weather this weekend. We'll see what happens.
Under what conditions do you consider a switch? In other words, if you've got the nitrous motor in there and it's running good, when would you switch to a blown motor or vice versa?
Well, there's a couple factors there. One, I don't have a stable of blown motors as backups yet. So obviously, if we hurt something beyond repair, we're going to be putting a nitrous motor in because we've got a couple fresh ones sitting there ready to go, and I know their quality. I know what I've got. But we'll look for low altitude, good weather situations to run the blown motor, and we'll look for lousy weather situations to run a nitrous motor.
Some people seem to think the nitrous motors will run better in thinner, more humid air. You believe that too?
I think so, because the majority of the air you pump in there is in the bottle, and it's not effective. With a blower, you take in what you've got outside.
One has to admit the spectator response when Bill Coolman rolls the Summit Camaro out of the trailer with a supercharger on it has been incredible. Let's face it, Bill Coolman has been the man associated with nitrous oxide in gasoline, along with carburetors, since the inception of these outlaw nitrous cars. But with Bill Coolman running a supercharged motor, the fans don't seem to think that he's selling out. They only seem to think that he's out there trying to win.
Absolutely, Brad. I couldn't have put it better myself. There are two motors in this class. Each one has their own fans. And maybe Coolman says it best, Ted, as you look from inside Bill Coolman's car. The fans like to see both, so why don't we give it to him?
Of note, Coolman is running the nitrous oxide motor right now. He's running against Stanley Barker, who really is one of the true pioneers of the blown motors in Pro Modified. He's never been as successful as a Jim Oddie, but he's done very well and been doing it quite a while.
Now, you notice a new wrinkle in our coverage of the IHRA. We have a side-mounted camera on Bill's car as he goes up against Stanley Barker from Dunlap, Tennessee, in an '88 Chevy Monte Carlo with a 526 cubic inch blown Chevy motor.
Well, Barker was late, a 6:10 reaction time. Coolman has him covered. All he has to do is stay out front. No! Stanley Barker picked him off with a 704, 194 miles an hour. Coolman slowed to a 713.
In the far lane, you saw the huge jump that Coolman had, but by half track, look at the supercharged motor come through. One more look with our ESPN in-car camera looking out the front and the side.
You'll be able to see what Bill Coolman sees. That's a feeling of frustration as Barker starts pulling away. Coolman, a very busy man in that cockpit.
And there you see the tallest crewman in all of sport, Larry Nance, the superstar NBA forward for the Cleveland Cavaliers. His man Pat Moore is going up against Norman Estes from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Well, Pat Moore, no babe at this business. He was a former top sportsman world champion in the IHRA. That's one of the reasons that he linked up with Nance. But it looks like he's got problems now as Norman Estes has him outpowered. He wins with a 691, 201 miles per hour.
And you saw Larry Nance go over there to congratulate Norman Estes' crew. We'll have more round one action when we return to Budds Creek. Back at the Snap-on Tools Pro Mod President's Cup at Maryland International Raceway. There is a look at Harold Robinson from North Tazewell, Virginia. 1992 Chevy Lumina with a big block mountain motor Pontiac, going up against Ronnie Sox, the legend from Graham, North Carolina, in his fiberglass 64 Mercury Comet, 707 cubic inches of Ford power.
Well, Sox, of course, came to fame years ago back in the 60s, teamed up with Buddy Martin, the old Sox and Martin team. But Harold Robinson has run in IHRA Pro Stock for many, many years. Pro Mod is new for Harold.
Great lead for both drivers. Up. Robinson brakes, Sox is through.
Easy win for Sox at 696, 198 miles per hour.
Now you want wild, here comes wild. Ken Regenthal from Clemens, North Carolina in the Carolina Hooker Corvette, going up against Bob Bailey from Glen Burnie, Maryland.
Regenthal's been running that 63 Corvette clear back in Top Sportsman days before Pro Modified was ever around. He's plenty tough.
Great launch for Regenthal in the yellow Corvette, and he's going to have an easy run.
Regenthal with a 696, 198 miles per hour, right in there with Ronnie Sox, almost identical time.
Next matchup, talk about wild. It gets wilder with every pairing. Here comes Randy Moore from Piney Flats, Tennessee with that wild 91 Lamborghini Countach supercharged car.
Well, the Tosti Asti Lamborghini, the only one of its kind. You know, Randy actually got his driving experience in the tractor pulling and four-wheel truck driving. Mel Eves, on the other hand, started out in Top Sportsman.
from Bayonet Point, Florida. Melvin Eves, our first look at him in Pro Mod competition this year. Randy taking his time getting in, but they are staged. They are away. Looks like Eves got him off the line. Randy Moore with a problem.
Moore trying to pull back in the Tostiowski car. Does he have him? Yes, sir. The Lamborghini in a walkaway. 7.35. Not an impressive ET.
Look how close they were at half track. Eves with the lead, but then that supercharged motor gets up on RPM, and he just leaves them. Our next matchup, Pete Williams from Cottondale, Alabama, up against Charles Spires from Orangeburg, South Carolina.
These guys are both newcomers to IHRA Pro Modified Racing, so it's hard to tell who really has the advantage here. Both of them relatively inexperienced.
As you can see, they're both nitrous cars. The hood scoop really gives it away. Williams with 672 cubic inches of Chevy, 622 Pontiac mill and Spires car, venting that nitrous. It looks like steam coming out the top of the hood. You want a nice, clean nitrous feed into the manifold. Lots of tire smoke there from Pete Williams, but he just walks away from Spires, who brakes.
Williams with a 686, 202.56.
Now here is yet another new camera angle, a helmet-mounted camera on Michael Martin's Pro Mod. If you watched our Spring Nationals coverage, I may have left you with the impression that this is a supercharged car. It is not, as Michael scans around the cockpit, reaches for those telltale blue bottles holding the NO2. Beautiful machine for Michael Martin. With the new funny car-style bodywork, we've been talking about the controversy regarding engines in Pro Mod. Body styles and how closely these cars resemble street machines is also an argument point.
With the new helmet cam, you'll be able to see exactly what Michael is looking at. He's going to be a very busy man inside that All-Pro Auto Parts car.
Michael Martin from Pageland, South Carolina. Richard Beaumont is his opponent out of Wallingford, Connecticut.
We'll watch now as Michael Martin pulls the levers on the Limco 4-speed transmission. He's in high gear. Beaumont broke off the line. Martin wins with a 688, 204 miles per hour.
Elsewhere in the round, Billy Harper on the right broke, letting Canadian Al Billis through, but he kept his foot in it to the tune of 6.94 seconds, 201 miles an hour for Al Billis. Then it was the man, Scotty Cannon from Lyman, South Carolina. His opponent, Harry Rayner, fouled. Cannon through, but he kept going as well, 684. Now watch the driving job from our top qualifier, the 1990 world champion. Tim McAmis gets absolutely sideways off the launch, and he had to lift out of it, but he will advance to the next round. In fact, 2 cars failed to show, so we'll have 14 when we go into round 2. In head-to-head meetings between nitrous and supercharged cars, nitrous-boosted cars won 3, supercharged cars won. In all, 11 cars will be nitrous-assisted, 3 supercharged in the next round. Ted, now let's take a look at exactly what the technical differences are between blown and nitrous engines.
Technical differences are the only differences. The goal is the same. The idea is to get more air down into the combustion chamber so you can put more raw gasoline with it and burn it. With the blown or supercharged car, the air comes into the bug catcher or air scoop, which is mounted on top of the 4-barrel carburetors. The air and fuel mixture is actually mixed in the carburetors and passes down into the blower or supercharger. There, the blower acts as a giant air pump, pumping it under tremendous pressure down into the intake manifold and, of course, on into the heads in the combustion chamber. Now, this whole concept in Pro Modified was created by Jim Audi, the man that set drag racing on its ear in Pro Modified with his Corvette. Now it's been copied by world champion Scotty Cannon and many others. Let's look at the other side of it, nitrous oxide injection. Just what is nitrous oxide, or laughing gas? Well, it's made up mostly of oxygen and nitrogen. This is pumped down into the combustion chamber in the internal combustion engine. The idea, again, if you can get enough gasoline into the combustion chamber, if you can burn it, you can make more horsepower. But burning, it's the problem. You have to have oxygen present. This is what nitrous oxide does. It puts a tremendous amount of oxygen down into the combustion chamber. Now we can burn more gasoline. It's simple to do. The standard automotive fuel system passes the fuel through a fuel pump into the carburetors. When you add nitrous oxide, you merely tee into the line, go in underneath the carburetor with huge amounts of raw, unburned gasoline. To burn it, come in the other side with a solenoid which passes nitrous oxide in. Now the oxygen is present, you can burn the gasoline. Another advantage is that nitrous oxide tends to cool the air and fuel mixture, making a cooler cylinder head and therefore less maintenance and a lot less problems. Nitrous oxide has that advantage. It's like air in a bottle. Nitrous oxide versus supercharging, which is best? Actually, they're pretty well equal. They both add air to gasoline. More gasoline makes more horsepower. We'll watch the controversy rage on when we come back with round 2.
Raceway, where Killer Car meets, eventually evolved into what we know today as Pro Mod. Let's take a look now at second round action of the Snap-on Tools Pro Mod President's Cup. Pete Williams up against Joel Bayless.
Well, Williams ran a spectacular 695, 199 miles per hour to drop Bayless out of action and move on into round number 3.
Williams had trouble with that left lane in the previous round, but he made it work this time. Then it was the supercharged Tostiasti Spumani Lamborghini of Randy Moore going up against Jeff Enslin.
Well, Radical Randy had problems. He slowed to a 733 after running in the 6s, giving Enslin an easy victory at a 710, 189 miles per hour.
Good run for Enslin, knocking off some of the big boys. Now let's take a look at Tim McCamus in the left lane. Remember all the trouble he had in the previous round? Well, he's going up against Ronnie Sox, and again McCamus got sideways, but this time he pulled it out.
Sox had problems. He slowed to a 741. McCamus won it with a 719, 197.
Then it was Michael Martin going up against Stanley Barker.
Martin's the only guy that stayed in the 6s. He ran a 689, 204 miles per hour. He's got his act together.
Let's take another look from our ESPN helmet cam on Michael Martin's head. Looking to the left, checking the lights, checking his opponent right there. Our side view camera. Once again, it's Stanley Barker over there in his Chevy Monte Carlo. We're heading for 200 miles an hour side by side, and Barker is blown away.
That's what it feels like. Remember, Barker went 195, whereas Martin went 204. Looked like he was doing about 300. He went by him so fast.
Quick look to see when it's time to turn around. Michael Martin is done. Then it was Scotty Cannon, 6th in the championship in 1990, #1 last year up against Norman Estes.
Here comes the blown car against the nitrous car. This time the blown car wins 682, 203. The controversy rages on so far to dead heat.
Well, here's a look at the brackets for the next round. It'll be McCamus with a bye, Billis meets Enslin, Cannon meets Williams, Martin meets Regenthal. Meanwhile, Brett is down in the pits.
In the second round, Pete Williams burned a piston out of his Scott IHRA 706 cubic inch motor, but now it may look like Pete Williams' pit area, but it's not. This is the Persico brothers and Gary Groner's Pro Mod pit area with Pete Williams' Chevy Lumina sitting in it. They've decided to loan the Alabama driver a motor for the third round of competition. The burn piston motor laying on the sidelines is now being replaced by the Persico brothers' own power plant that is virtually identical to the one Williams has used to run in the 680s at this event. The question is, can they make it in time? They are really being pushed right now before the next round of competition is called, and they still have work to do. This, gentleman, is a thrash, and the kind of thrash you'd expect at the world's largest, richest pro-modified event.
All right. Back at the IHRA Snap-on Tools Pro Mod President's Cup. Here's Brett with a look behind the scenes.
At the season-opening All-Pro Auto Parts Winter Nationals in Darlington, South Carolina, we did an in-depth feature on Scotty Cannon's brand-new funny car-bodied Chevy Lumina that was equipped with a supercharged engine for 1992. It was a big shock. The world champ coming out with something other than his nostalgia-bodied machines that were the tradition, and with a supercharged motor to replace the nitrous and carburetors that took him to the world title in 1991. Well, 1992 is now about a fourth of the way complete on the IHRA Tour, and things haven't changed much. After that World Championship in 91, Cannon went on to win the season-opening Winter Nationals, and now has scored in 2 of the 4 completed IHRA races this year. But there's no question that Scotty Cannon is still no stranger to controversy, and as one of the highest ranked drivers in IHRA competition, as well as one who is known for sticking his nose just about everywhere, it's got to be a good feeling to start off a season in pursuit of another World Championship after carrying the #1 for this season anyway.
Yeah, Brett, you know, we made a big change with what we call jumping the fence. But we built a new car, redesigned the car, and we've done a lot of tests, and as most everybody knows, there's 3 of these cars identical out there. And what can I say? The cars are the big deal, but, you know, the blower, I like the sound and the noise. So it's really working good for me.
When you debuted the original Cannonball of Willys 5 seasons ago now, I doubt if you ever could have dreamed that you would have been in the situation you are now with this kind of sponsorship, with this kind of notoriety, and if nothing else, with this kind of psychological advantage over the rest of the field.
Well, you know, the racing spirit of it and the pressure is the same to me because I've bracket raced all my life. And the biggest head games and the psychological part plays in bracket racing. I'm an old bracket racer. That's where my heart is. That's where I started. All my friends are still bracket racers. And, I mean, you go around there and you have to have a 01 bub and run dead on. I mean, you play every psychological game, every trick, everything you do. So, you know, one thing I'm seeing that I have an advantage, the only advantage I have here is the psychological game. I pull up behind these guys that's just started racing, never have drove a car, and they buy this stuff. They haven't had the road time in the psychological part. So anything we say behind the pits, in the pits, when we're holding our conversation, it plays a role when you pull up to the starting line, whether they know it or not. And, you know, I feel I'm comfortable in that category. That's just like at Darlington. I mean, I could have ran 690 and beat everybody I raced. I mean, from Randy Moore not stopping at the tree in the final to Michael Martin blowing the tires off right off the starting line. But we run good every round. They would have had to go. But just say I would have been running 690, and that's exactly what I run last year before everybody stepped up. You know, and I could have won that race there, but, you know, intimidation plays a lot in this role, and I think we do pretty good there. I mean, you got to race this thing everywhere, in the pits, at home, on the phone, and when you pull up there, you got to race the car, you know?
That's a very true statement. You have to race 24 hours a day. The psychological war is a big part of it.
Yeah, we do it all the time. I mean, if I speak to my fellow guy and we go eat and I buy him a steak, I'm on the defensive role the whole time. I mean, he is, I know it, and I know I am, so I just, you know, I never put my guard down, never. When I come here, I come for one thing, not second or third. We come in the gate, and like last night when I got here, I stay here in the motorhome. I don't even go out to eat. I don't go partying. We stay right here, and we race it. We're racing around the clock. I mean, where the car's out there or not, I'm racing in my mind. And, you know, I think that plays a role at the end of the year when a championship's involved. I mean, I think the more consistent you are, the more you keep your mind focused on what you're doing, the outcome will be greater in the end.
While Scotty Cannon's success is exceptional, it's important to remember that the heavily sponsored big-time operation in Pro Modified is still the exception. There are still a myriad of independents out there. No financing to speak of other than their own bank accounts, and some of the most unusual combinations in all of drag racing. One such machine is Chuck Van Vallis's Michigan-based 1964 Dodge Polara that utilizes, of all things, one of the rare Chrysler B1 wedge engines. Now, the B1 was never designed for nitrous oxide injection use, and believe me when I tell you that working on this car, even with a major sponsor, could well be one of the biggest chores in Pro Modified.
You know, we just have one motor, you know, right now. We're working on another one at this time, but we're just a small operation. It's a family deal is what it is.
But how do you keep financing it? You're at every single event on the IHRA Tour. People have got to start wondering, how can this guy do it?
Sometimes we ask ourselves that, how the heck are we doing it?
It gets to the point after a while where you start thinking, what do we want? Do we want to live at home, or do we want to live strictly in the trailer?
Yeah, we love the racing. You know, it's a great bunch of guys around here overall. We've really made some nice friends and had a good time, really had a good time. You know?
Well, while the IHRA group is a family of its own, you bring your entire family along, and everybody is involved pretty deeply in the sport in different ways, especially Yoki.
Exactly. She's with the draw operation, okay, and has helped to bring draw here to IHRA, which is something for the racers. It's not for pros or anybody else. It's for the local racer, you know.
But I should bring up that the draw program, Drag Racing Association of Women, is also something that takes up a tremendous amount of her time. In fact, to the point where she's sometimes not even around the car while you're working on it.
Exactly. You know, I've often said, Brett, that if my wife didn't like this racing thing and as a family thing, there was no possible way that I could do it, especially to attend every event as we've done and be involved as much as she is.
We helped all injured racers of all classes, from pro stock all the way down to the bracket racer, and that's what I like about it. It gives me a chance to get away, to be on my own, and it also gives me a chance to help an organization that helps others.
You're on the road so much throughout the year, you never miss an event. The Van Vallis family is at every IHRA stop on the tour. Does it ever get to the point where you have actually said to yourself, we don't need to do this much or even at all?
Actually, of the three of us, I like drag racing the best. I'm the one who talks the other two and say, yeah, we got to go. Yeah, I already got the reservations. Let's go.
Don't kid yourself into thinking that the Van Vallis family effort is any less competitive or intense than Scotty Cannon's on-set magazine Lumina Pit Area. That's what Pro Modified racing is all about. Sure, there are varying degrees of financial backing. There are different types of race cars with different engine combinations. Well, one thing remains the same in Pro Modified, and that is the intense desire to win. Every one of the drivers in this first ever 32-car field are here for only that reason.
All right, thank you, Brett. Anybody out there with a few dollars to spare they'd like to spend drag racing, you couldn't do much better than the Vanvalis family from Mount Clemens, Michigan. Stay with us. McAmis' situation.
While Tim McAmis may have been the #1 qualifier with a blistering 675 during a cool night air in qualifying, certainly things have changed here on race day. We saw him make that horrendous right-hand turn in the first round. Now in the second round, the car spins the tires violently, and as Tim looks at the computer tapes, what's the problem?
Well, the main problem is we found about 150 horsepower last night before that last run, and that is more of a hindrance now than it is a help. And we actually detuned the car between the first and second round. I mean, it shouldn't even have went down the track, and there's just not enough track out there to hold the car.
I got to admit, we've heard of racers picking up 10 horsepower. Where did you find 150?
Man, I tell you, you wouldn't believe it is night and day from where we've been running. We made a few changes to the fuel system on the car, and it is so violent with power now that the clutch is slipping all the way down the track, and it still won't hook up.
Why is the track that much different? Is it just the weather conditions?
Yeah, it's the heat out here. It's so hot, and as soon as you get off the concrete, there's no rubber down there on the pavement part of the track.
And you found 150 horsepower above what took you to a 669 a couple of weeks ago?
Oh yeah, I mean we've got enough power now to run high 50s, I'm sure.
Well, with one more run remaining, Tim McAmis right now has to make a decision. The car is obviously running plenty strong, as he pointed out, but he has to get it down the track. Luckily for him, as the #1 qualifier, he's scheduled for an odd-lot single run in the next round. And Bob Varsha, that means that this won't just be an easy pass. They've got to figure out how to set this car up for the semifinals.
And round 3 is a late time to do it. Brett, let's take a closer look at Tim McAmis' problems with our IHRA computer graphics benchmark.
We'll look first at engine RPM. The RPMs will be down the left side of your screen. The time in seconds going down the track is across the bottom of the screen. You can see when it leaves, everything looks fine up to about 5,300 RPMs. Suddenly, the tires start spinning like crazy. The engine RPM is up and down. Now, the drive shaft RPM is entirely different from that. The drive shaft RPM, although it's just a little jagged, constantly increases all the way down the track till we peak out at just over 6 seconds at 7,000 RPM. Clutch slippage should be very erratic by the looks of the runs that Tim McAmis has had. Yes, indeed it is. He dumps the clutch. You can see it slipping, grabbing until it's all the way down around 4 seconds. G-forces should be a constant increase. As we look at what Tim did in his runs, you can see the G-forces as the tire spun. Again, very erratic. Up to 2 Gs, drops up and down, comes all the way down to below 0 Gs at only 3 seconds into the run. Big problem for Tim McAmis.
Well, you've seen the same numbers Tim has. We'll see if he can get it all figured out in the quarterfinal run here at the Pro Mod President's Cup. First up, however, Michael Martin, winner at Darlington, South Carolina in the season's first event. There's the look from our ESPN helmet cam on top Michael's head. He will be going up against the Carolina Hooker Corvette of Ken Regenthal. There's a look at Michael Martin out of Pageland, South Carolina. And there is the yellow Corvette of Ken Regenthal.
Michael Martin has to be aware of Ken Regenthal's luck so far. Regenthal is running the best he has ever run. He's running constant 6s. He has never done this well, and you can bet that Martin is plenty worried about it.
There's the Corvette with 632 cubic inches of Chevy power. In this round, we have 7 nitrous-boosted cars and 1 supercharged car, that being the world champion, Scotty Cannon. Michael making last-second checks. Regenthal pulls into staging. They're away. Great start for both cars. Regenthal getting a little squirrely. Something came out. Something broke on Ken Regenthal's car. Michael Martin is through.
Michael Martin had a great ball of a 450, couples it up with a 698, 202 miles per hour.
I think Ken Regenthal dropped a belt or something. At any rate, he is gone. Here is Al Billis, the man with the mechanical engineering degree. Worked on Can-Am and Indy cars in road racing at his home in Barn, Ontario. Before turning to drag racing, he's up against Jeff Enslin.
Enslin out of Lakeland, Florida. Both these competitors running 632 cubic inches.
Trouble for Enslin as well. Al Billis is through. 6.84 seconds, 202 miles an hour. He's going to be tough in the semis. Now here's a look at Scotty Cannon's run in the right lane. Pete Williams, red lighted, got all over the racetrack. And as you can see, Scotty just lifted out, came blistering down the track at 23 seconds at a cool 31.23 miles an hour. Saving that engine for the semis against Michael Martin. Remember Tim McAmis and all of his problems, Ted?
I think one problem McAmis may be suffering is nitrous oxide bursts. You have to put the nitrous oxide in stages. It looks like he's developing all the nitrous power right off the starting line, and there's no track in the world that can handle that.
Once again, McAmis pretzels it off the launch pad. He's going to have to get that figured out before he goes up against the Canadian Al Billis. Scotty Cannon will meet Michael Martin.
Pressure produced by these 4 pipes at speed was not only blowing the decals off the side of the car, but the fuel oxidizing in the pipes was also dulling the paint finish. But there's a solution to the problem. More and more companies such as Martin Centaur Paints are getting involved in creating fuels that are more and more resistant to caustic or corrosive fuels. And this isn't a new problem either. It's been involved in drag racing since the start of the use of nitro and alcohol fuels. They are definitely death to paint schemes. But the question is, how do you keep the beauty in drag racing? More and more technology will continue to present us the rainbow of colors that is IHRA Championship Drag Racing.
Thank you, Brett. And 4 of the best turned out machines in the paddock are getting set for the Pro Modified semifinals. First up will be this man, Michael Martin, going up against Scotty Cannon in a rematch of the final in the Spring Nationals at Bristol, Tennessee.
You know, Martin has really had his act together and been running strong. Meanwhile, Scotty Cannon, the man to be feared with that new blown motor setting on top.
I mentioned that Michael Martin won the Winter Nationals a little earlier in the show. Actually, Scotty won the Winter Nationals. Michael won the Spring Nationals. They are away. Both cars weaving a little bit off the launch pad. Cannon with the advantage of half track, and he wins.
Look at that, 202.88. That's mile an hour for you.
Out come the chutes and down come the speeds. Here's another look now. Scotty Cannon really just easing away all the way down the strip.
The horsepower started to work at about the 1,000-foot mark.
That was revenge for Bristol, but did it hurt something?
I don't know. I think maybe it's on the shutdown. I turned my lean out and then killed it. I think it's just a lean pop.
There's a little extra fuel up there.
Yeah, man, I also tore up. I'm just glad to be here. I don't know.
You thrashed an awful lot up there getting ready for this.
If it's ever worth it, this is it, I guess, man.
That's right. Richest final round ever, and you're in it.
Yeah, that's what I like.
That's right, $10,000 to win if you can do it, Scotty. Let's see who he'll meet in the final. There is Tim McAmis, who's been having all those problems. Now we'll go on board with the Canadian, Al Billis. I mentioned that Al made his name in Can-Am and IndyCar racing with Jacques Villeneuve, son of the great Gilles Villeneuve, Canadian Formula One driver. And Al Billis decided to go straight line racing. Both cars staged, both cars away cleanly. Oh, McAmis got it sideways off the left lane this time, and Billis will walk away.
Billis with a 687, 201 miles per hour. Tim McAmis, we can look now, and you'll begin to see the problems he's having with too much horsepower. That nitrous is making over 150 unexpected horsepower, causing him to break loose and fishtail. Meanwhile, Al Billis glued to the track.
Another 80.
Good. He ran 82. We'll have to do better.
Well, this is the classic confrontation. I should point out McAmis did get it down the track, but it was all over the track doing it.
Was it? What did he run?
In the 730s. But you lost lane trace. You think that's going to be a problem?
We'll find out. I don't know.
You've been in the, what would be your right lane all day, so has Cannon. You don't really have any idea, I guess, what the left lane's like.
No, but I know I'll be there.
That's for sure. Well, indeed, the classic nitrous versus blown controversy. This is what a lot of...
It'll be a good race.
That's right. This is what a lot of people wanted to see. Good luck.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Scotty Cannon, by virtue of the quicker ET, will have lane choice. Al Billis knows he'll be in the left lane. Let's check up on Scotty.
The thrash continues in Scotty Cannon's pit area as it has pretty much every single round of this inaugural Snap-on Tools Pro Mod President's Cup. At the end of that last semifinal round, winning 682, Cannon banged the supercharger enough to have him concerned about its efficiency. Therefore, they're going to take the last available few minutes before the final and change superchargers. This one has 4 runs on it total. They've got one in the trailer that only has 2 runs. If you don't think this team has burned up some parts trying to win the richest and largest Pro Mod battle ever, take a look at this box of wasted pieces.
You've got clutches, you've got engine parts, you've got transmissions. Scotty Cannon does not plan to be denied here at Budds Creek.
Well, Scotty Cannon's pit area has been a thrash of activity all day long. Over here in the Canadian team car pit area, Al Billis' crew has pretty much been doing this all day long. They did change a sprag in the transmission once, but other than that, it's been routine maintenance. Everybody's smiling, laughing, joking. These guys haven't even worked up a sweat. After all, they've got Canada's largest fan along for the ride.
Oh, bad joke, Brett. Maybe we've been overworking you today. This is what it's all about. Number 1 in the world in 1991 against number 2. They qualified 2 and 3 for this event. It is supercharged against nitrous-assisted. 7th final for Scotty Cannon. He's won 4 of them. 3rd final for Al Billis. He has won 1.
Scotty Cannon with that blown car has something that he wants to try and prove, and that is blowers are the best way to go. On the other hand, Al Billis has been on a romp lately with the nitrous oxide injected vehicle. Another interesting controversy raging right here. It's the United States against Canada.
We've got it all right here. Al Billis looking for his first victory of the year. Scotty Cannon looking for his 3rd.
Billis only runs 632 inches. He could go to 710 by the rules if he wanted to, Bob.
Both cars are staged. Good lead for both cars, but Billis in the unfamiliar lane gets a little sideways. You don't give Scotty Cannon a lead like that.
Scotty Cannon, 6.80, 203 miles per hour, and he had a bad reaction time. Billis ran a 4:37 react, but right there's the story.